Greetings, mathematicians. Today we're looking at example 5 where we did A and B. Let's take a look at C. It is distributive property. I have a binomial times a binomial, 2 terms times 2 terms. So I'm going to write that over here, 10 minus 5i times 2 plus 3i, and it's distributive property. 10 times 2 gives me 20. 10 times 3i gives me plus 30i. Negative 5i times 2 gives me minus 10i, and negative 5i times a positive 3i gives me negative 15i squared. So I can combine these two terms here, the middle terms, 20 plus 20i minus 15, but I squared is also equal to negative 1. So what I really have is 20 plus 20i, and it's minus, or I'm subtracting the product of 15 times negative 1, so I'm subtracting the negative 15, which is going to be plus, or adding 15, or you can think of it as negative 15 times negative 1 gives me positive 15. The 20 and the 15 can combine, and I write it in the form a plus bi, so 35 plus 20i is that final answer there. For D, I actually have it already solved at the bottom here. D is it's double distributive property. 1/2 1.2 times 1.2 is 1.44. 1.2 times a negative 0.5i is minus 0.6i. 0.5i times a 1.2 is 0.6i, and positive, so plus 0.6i, and a 0.5i times a minus 0.5i is minus 0.5i squared. These two middle terms do combine to 0, and I squared is negative 1, so it's really 1.44 minus 0.25 times negative 1, so I'm adding 0.25 to 1.44, which is why I get 1.69. Now, these two, or which is D right up here, these two binomials are conjugates of each other, much like a plus b times a minus b. When you have conjugates, you will actually have the middle terms always simplify to 0. So I actually want to write this a different way. So I'm going to write this over here, 1.2 plus 0.5i times 1.2 minus 0.5i. When you're multiplying conjugates, you only really need to focus on first term times first term and last term times last term, because the other terms are going to simplify to 0. So 1.2 times 1.2 gives us our 1.44. 0.5i times a minus 0.5i does give us minus 0.25i squared, but 1.44 minus 0.25i squared is really negative 1, and so this gives us 1.44 plus 0.25, which is why we get 1.69 as our answer for example 4D.